So today is Chulin Daf Lamed Ches, and we're going to Bez Hashem start Lamed Zayin on the bottom, the last two lines, Ashkechin Shmuel. But before that, I want to go back to just discuss the Gemara that we had yesterday. We discussed the Gemara wanted to bring a raya that Mfarcheses is kosher b'chlal. How do we know that Mfarcheses is not a problem like a Ken and Nevela? And the Gemara first brought one complicated raya. Then the Gemara brought a raya from the pasuk in Yecheskel. And the pasuk in Yecheskel over there that we have the story that Yecheskel tells HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He tells HaKadosh Baruch Hu about his tzidkis. And what's his tzidkis? Three things. He says nafshi loy mitama. And unevelu trefel echalti minurai v'adata and v'lei ba b'fi basa pigel. So and v'lei ba b'fi basa pigel, and it's understood that it doesn't mean any of these things because obviously we're talking about a tzidkis. He's talking right, so that he didn't eat nevela trefa ishkin grace zach. That's not a tzidkis or right. Obviously he was talking about dargis. So we darshan all thing. So the nafshi loy mitama we said means nafshi loy mitama means that he was shloiher harti b'yoyim and v'yavu de tuma balayla. Which Tosfos again asks the kasha. Tosfos says, "What's the grace of godless?" I mean, it's a mefurish apostle that you're not allowed to do it. So Tosfos says, kol soif, you're not allowed to do it. It's taka isa. But the Gemara says that gimel, that the bottom Tosfos gimel ain't other nitzel mehem. B'chol yom. Gimel ain't other nitzel mehem b'chol yom. Here averav lashon haravi in tefillah. So l'maisa soif kol soif. Even though obviously, you're not allowed to do it. But Yecheskel was saying that he was taka, that he was able to. He came to a darga that he was taka in control. Yeah. So I just and then the Gemara says what's nevelu trefel lo yachalti, that what shlo yachalti basa kais. What's basa kais? That when they say quick shech quickly, right? That's that would be mfarcheses. What's mfarcheses? That if you don't check real quickly, it's going to be over with. It's going to be garbage. It's going to be a treifa. Yeah. So the ma'isa, that's the basa kais. So agavocha, stam as an aside, I just heard a shia, somebody was saying that Rabbi Heinemann was speaking. This concept we don't have nowadays. We think behemoths, older behemoths are most of our meat are from fresh cows. We don't have a masukanis. We don't have such a concept, and even if there would be such a thing, then there'd be so many trephus problems. We don't eat that. But however, he said over such an interesting story where it's mamish, where you have the mamish the mafarcheses kind of a story. He said that there's a shlachtais. He's a shlachtais. He's a Rabbi Machshir. And one time he went to shlachtais he went to shlachtais whatever, inspect whatever it was, and the sheikhtim came to him with a complaint. What was the complaint? He said they have a whole day. They have they have deliveries coming, and they shech the whole day. They shech fine. He says in the middle of the day, there's a lot of times once in a while the farmers ship these old milk cows. Right? It's a different breed. It's a Holstein probably, or a Jersey girl. It's a different breed of cow. The one that they like for milk. And they're older, big cows, and the shlachtos insists that the sheikhtim should kill it. Now, we don't use that. It's older cows. These are cows that were used for milking for years and years and years. They're not even going to check them for trephus. Trephus, they're going to be molly. Who knows what kind of problems? We don't even try. We don't even pashket. It goes to the trephus. It goes to whatever they use it for, sausages, sausage, whatever they use it for. But lamaisa, but they insist on checking. They insist on checking it as the delivery comes. And the sheikhtim say, "Listen here, we're busy. We're here to do ritual slaughter. We're not here to just stam shecht. So, tell the what's called it, tell the balabas that when we leave, you guys will do it. You'll take care of it. You know what I mean? Why do we have to shecht it? So he looked into it. Rabbi Heinemann says he spoke it over, and it turns out, Mamush interessant. He says it turns out that these cows are cows that they tzaptois the blood. They use these cows for milk all their life, and they used it. And if they're sending it for slaughtering, it's because the pshat is it's already bo'omayim ad nafesh. They're already how bafyanavelt. And the USDA has a law that if the animal dies before it comes in, they can't use it. It's worthless. But if they slaughter it before, then they can use it. And he says, if we're going to leave it on the truck for a couple of hours, we're going to lose a couple of them. We're going to lose a couple of them. They're going to pass. These are their mamish this is the real mesukenis. Mamish the mesukenis that our Gemara had. So we don't have been negei halacha so much, but it's negei mamish the USDA, the same kind of halacha. What? No, it's not a gay for the knife. Who cares? They say they use it. They shecht. Who cares? They slaughter it and they just throw it up. They But it's very. Then it just goes with treifus. It's not going. But it's very interesting that we might have this kind of a concept. But anyway, but back to that Gemara. So the Gemara says. Nevelu treifel le'achalti shle'achalti basar kais. So where's the lashon kais? Where does that come from? What's the lashon kais? How does that go into the words of nivelu treifel echalti? Yeah, minurai vadata. Yeah, the mashom mochitzach. So while we were learning yesterday, we were aiming on such a kishmak pshat. What does it have to do with what does Mesukenis have to do with a nivelu treifa? The teretz is. That alone is the pshat. Since they say kais, they're in a rush. Since they're in a rush, they're quickly rushing to shecht. That's why it's a chashash. It might be nisnablo, it might end up being an avela, or it might be a treifa inadvertently, we might not know. And memela, since we're in a rush, that is the reason why Yecheskel, Avadu, we're going to la halacha, that la halacha mesukenis is kosher, right? But Yecheskel Avo Bikain had a chumrah. What was his chumrah? Because since it's kais, since we're in a rush, so therefore there's a makom to be chayshish that something would he was chayshish that something will go wrong. That was a nice shot that we were aiming on yesterday. Now I just want to be just a fair eye. So what's the menurai vadata? What's the menurai? Mashov mochazach. What's the menurai vadata? How does that go into the taich? So it could be very geshmak because the Gemara before, because the case before we said nafshi le'mituma, which means lehirarti b'yaim ubasu deitoma balayla, and that zoktoisis nobody's what's called it. Nobody is nizza from Lemaisa. People aren't nitzel l'chol yom, right? No one's nitzel. So we know Yaakov Avinu was nitzel. And Yaakov Avinu was nitzel that he was. This is the rachis only that he was never nichshel until what's called it. Until he got married in his 80s, right? But everybody else, it's a daily struggle, yeah. So very gishmak. Nafshi limitamah. When it came to Nivelu Treifel Echalti over there, it's Minu Urai Vadata. But Enechanami Nafshalei Mitamah was not something that he had Minu Urai Vadata. Now he was saying that he was at Darga, but he was not claiming that he was Bedargas Yankov Avinu, that it's Mamish Minu Urai Vadata, that he never ever came to a area. He's saying that now he's very nizar, and that's why over here when he said Nafshalei Mitamah, and the next one is Nivelu Treifel Echalti Minu Urai Vadata. Very geschmack. Okay.
Now, how old was he now?
Okay, good. Just one last thing about this, and it's going to be negay at the end of today's sugya. At the end of today's sugya, it's going to be negay a little bit machshavas pigel. So. It could be that the reason why the case of the the third thing that he said was v'loy ba b'fi basa pigel, right? And we said that he didn't eat something that the chacham that shloi hoyer b'chacham, right? What does something shleicher b'chacham have to do with pigel? So pigel means something horrible, right? So good, so something horrible. So why did he chap on pigel? It's a little bit modna, but it could be that the pshat is, if we discuss always, if pigel is the pshat is, it's if machshava doesn't mean thinking, it means planning, and it means right. So memela lamaisa, he had plans of maybe not using it, and he changed the plan. So memela, that would be, maybe it would be similar to a lashon of machshava's pigel. Okay, so today Be'ez Hashem, we're going to have the first Gemara is going to talk about what is mefarcheses, or what are the simonim that a mesukenes is fine. Then we're gonna have a whole sugya talking about when we need the din of at what point do we need it to be mefarcheses? At what point do you need it to show that it's kosher? In the beginning of the shechita, the end of the shechita, or the soif shechita? It's going to be three shitas in the three shitas amoraim, and then we're going to have the Mishnah, which is talking about a guy owning part of the carbon if it's part of a, not a carbon, a regular chulin, if it's kosher. And over there we're going to have the machshava of bailam mefaglim with the murdig kasha from Rabbi Yosef Engel, which we must discuss. Rabbi Yosef Engel has a sefer Gura Shmoinim on this kasha. We'll see Be'ez Hashem. We're not going to say all 82 of them, don't worry. Anyway, zok the Gemara weiter. Zok the Gemara. Ashkechan Shmuel Talmidei Rav. Yeah, Lamed Zayin Amid Beis. Ashkenu Shmuel Talmidei Rav. Amaluhu my Amar Rav b'Misukenes. What does Rav hold by Misukenes? Amulei Hachi Amar Rav. Moving to Lamed Ches. Hachi Amar Rav Goya v'Hetila Rei v'Kishkisha be'Ozna. So this is, and Rashi says Oyha. In other words, either if it gave out a krachts, or Hetila Rei went to the bathroom, or Kishkisha be'Ozna, or it moved its ear. Areza pirchos amaluhu it's richale la abba la zuzi oini. In Rabba holds you need such a kreisazach of la zuzi oini. So before we go weiter, it's kedai to mention Rashi and Tosfos both talk about it over here. Tosfos is very ma'irich. What was Rav's name? Was Rav's name Rav, and Shmuel was calling him Abba, or his name was Abba and he was known as Rav? So Rashi over here says that Avada Rav's name was Rav, yeah, but Shmuel over here is giving him a name of affection, of chashivas. He's calling him Abba, yeah. The Chassam Sofer tells Sue to the famous pasuk in Avi. Avi said Avi. Elisha said Avi Rechav Yisrael, right? Avi. So this is a lashon of that Abba. That's a lashon of chashivos. Where that's how Rashi is learning. That would be the pshat by Abba. Tosfos brings down from the Aruch that it's the other way around. That Avada Rav's name was Abba, and that's why Shmuel, that was a contemporary of him, he called him Abba. Everybody else called him Rav. Rav is a lashon of chashivas. Yeah, that's the pshat in Tosfos. Tosfos goes through a whole bunch of different gemaras. The one last gemara that Tosfos bleib shver lo to Aruch is in a case where the Gemara says where Rabbi Yirmiyah calls Rav Abba. Yeah, and Tosfos wants to know that Avad, you're not allowed to call your Rebbe by his name. It says that Gechesi was Nanash because he called Eliyahu by his first name. Yeah. So Mevela is a kasha that the Tosfos bleib shver loy to Aruch. What's the pshat in that case? Okay, that's the shaila. What was Rav's name? If his real name was Abba, or his real name was Rav. Okay, Zakti Gemara. What?
It says here in the.
I just be more. I don't know if it's. It happens to be that Sai Abba and Rav are both a lashon of a chashivas. So if ever takes this kasha, is if we would say that neither of them was his real name, and maybe he had a third name. I guess it's not Mistaba. Tais doesn't want to say that, but why don't we just say that both Abba and Rav are both Kinoyim, and he used this Kinoyim, and he used that Kinoyim. This is Kasha, right? Okay.
It's kind of strange
that
two names are brought and neither of them are right.
They're both lashon of chashivas. I would say the opposite. I think it's highly. I mean, I don't know about Abba, but I think it's highly unlikely that somebody was named Rav. That's a name. Somebody was called Rav. I don't know.
Well, could it be the same thing? Like, recall instead of saying, like.
Okay, so weiter. So anyway, Shmuel says it's Richalei Abba la Zuzi Oini Shani Oimeno Kol she'enei dvarim shamisa oisa Kol she'enei dvarim shamisa oisa. All we need is something that doesn't come machmas misa. Ma'ini dvarim shamisa oisa. What's the things that misa oisa? Amar Rav Anan l'di mifresh ali minei Mar Shmuel hoisa yada kefufa upashtasa. If the animal's hand, right, the front legs were bent and it stuck it out, that's Tavashad Misa Isa, like the Mishnah really says. Pashta Yada Vikafefa Pshuta Vikafefa, but if the front legs were straight and it bent it in, and that's something that's Eina Misa Isa that doesn't come Machmas Misa, and therefore that would be a lashon of that would be a pirchus, and that would be a raya that it's still chai. It's mamish our Mishnah. What's Rav Anan coming to be mechadish? That's mamish mefurish our Mishnah. The Mishnah says, if it stuck out its hand and it didn't bring it back, psula. So nefesh. So it's clear loyich is nefesh. Hayich is kshera. But if it moved its hand back, it's kshera, right? So
before I understand the question, because over here we're saying he didn't stick it out. It was out. He just brought it back. Maybe he needed to. To be stick out.
Very geschmack. So you look tomorrow. Everything tomorrow. Even Maslis and Havamina. Had we just read the Mishnah, Havamina Dafke, the Kaifa Upashta, Vahad the Kaifa, that it was bent. Pashta var the kaifa, that he stuck it out and pulled it in. It's kshera. But if, let's say, it started off in a straight position and he just moved it in without doing any other action, maybe that's not enough. That the Ravana said Mishmei de Shmuel that is enough. Very gishmak, very good, beautiful. Yeah, that's the Gemara. Zok the Gemara, right? Zok the Gemara, Meisvei, Frek the Gemara Kasha, Meisvei Rabbi Yossi Oimer. Okay. Meisvei Rabbi Yossi Oimer Hayer Ameye Oimer Goya B'Shashchita Ein Ze Pirchos. So again, reminding you that the Rav said Goya V'Tila Reya V'Kishkisha Ba'azna, right? Goya meaning it gave out a krecht, or Hetila Reya V'Kishkisha Ba'azna. So now Tosfos goes through the cheshbonis. We're not gonna get everybody all mixed up, but Tosfos goes the cheshbon about the machlokes in our Mishnah. If there's a machlokes in our Mishnah, if you need one leg or two legs, if the Tanakama and the other ones, exactly what the cheshbon is. So Tosfos wants to say that the machlokes Rav and Shmuel is taka if we pass how we pass in our Tana, and Tosfos goes through the cheshbon is what the Gemara's kashas. But let's go through the Gemara simple. That the Rav said Goya Vetila Reya. These Harez are Pirchos, and we're going to ask a kasha from a brisa that says clearly that Goya Vetila Reya is not Pirchos. Meisvei Rabbi Yossi Oimer Hoyer Rabbi Yossi Oimer Hoyer Rabbeya Oimer. If it gives a krechts during the shchita, ein ze pirchos. Rabbi Lezer Rabbi Yossi Oimer Mishmoi afilu hetila rei v'kishkisha b'znava ein ze pirchos. So frek the Gemara kasha goya kasha reya. So Rav said that goya is a pirchos, and he said rei is a pirchos, and this brisa says that both goya is not a pirchos and rei is not a pirchos. So the Gemara nishkin kasha. We're talking about two different things. Goya like kasha had the avi kala, had the ami kala. One is talking about where it gave out a very strong prominent voice, and one gave a weak voice. The Brisa that said it's not good is a very weak voice. A weak krechts that doesn't show any life. It's some kind of a release of air. Pashenkin, a big loud voice, that's a raya that it's alive. Reya nami lekasha kam b'sheisesas kam b'matresses. B'sheisesas means it released its bodily functions, but in a weak way. It didn't shoot it out, so there was no power in it. But in matrezes, where it shot it out with koiches, that would be a raya that is still alive. That's the Gemara. That was about how it is now we're going to go through when. Talk to Gemara. You have three shittas. So we're going to have Rav Chizda and Rava and Be'ez Hashem. We're going to have one more shitta of Nachman Yitzchak. Yeah. Does it have to be? Is it the beginning enough, or the end, or in the middle? That's going to be Amar Rav Chizda. Pirchas she'amru. I heard Zok Rav Chizda that this when's the Pirchas? Pirchas she'amru is b'soif shchita. Is at the end of the shchita. I heard that it has to be at the end of the shchita. But I'm telling you that it doesn't mean the end. My b'soif shchita b'emsa shchita. I heard it has to be at the end, but it doesn't mean the end. It means in the middle, not in the beginning. Lafukit chila shchita d'loi. When they said at the end, they meant just not in the beginning. Amar Rav Chizda, mina amina la. How do I know that it doesn't? How do I know that it doesn't mean the end of the shchita? What? Zokter, mina amina la nan. Behema daka shepashti yadav lo yechzira. Behema daka. That stuck out its hand. V'lo yechzira. If it stuck out and v'lo yechzira, psula. Right? Zok Rav Chizda. Right? Amos. If we're talking about at the end of the shchita, kol hechi techi v'tezel. I don't understand. If it already did already out, so fine. So that's good. So what do I need more? It must be be'emtza shchita. It must be that since it's be'emtza shchita, so therefore, and that's why I still needed to move back. Otherwise, it's not an indication that it is that it's alive. Okay. Kol hechi techi v'tezel elalav be'emsa shchita. It must be that it's talking about that it's earlier, and in other words, it's not. It can't be enough. Amalei Rav nei la'olam b'soif shchita. Shani yomer kol she'eni oisa came b'soif shchita biyodua shenishmasa netula imenu kayv machen. Zokt Rav, you're assuming that the neshama happened, that the animal's actions are pegged, aligned with its yitzias nefesh, and you're assuming that if it's moving, it must be that it's still alive. So therefore, you ask, what's the problem? If it's still moving, it must be that it's still alive. So why? And if we're talking about soif shchita, so good. So soif shchita, it's still alive. So what could be the problem? So Rav Nain. It's possible that it's moving. It's moving after it had already been killed before, and therefore, what is Zukrava? So that's what the Mishnah is saying, that the lashon of imtzeis nafsha, that when it kicks out, right? The lashon of Mishnah, it says biyadua. She'enei ela hoitzas nafsha doesn't mean hoitzas nafsha right now it's going out. Hoitzas nafsha means that it's coming from hoitzas nafsha before, and now it's giving a kick. In other words, the question about it, the question between Rava and Rav Chizda is how to teach the Mishnah. The Mishnah said, why? It is hoitzas nefesh. So what does it mean hoitzas nefesh? What does it mean? So Rav Chizda is saying it means hoitzas nefesh means that the nefesh is going out right now. So Rav Chizda, so what's the problem? Hoitzas nefesh. That's what I want,
Perfect.
right? It's very good. The nefesh is here, right? So, right, the Eitzahas nefesh is here, and Memelo, so it's good. So it's alive. So if we're talking about Seif Shchita, so I have Eitzahas nefesh right now. Seif Shchita. What could be the problem? What could be wrong? Though it has to live longer. That was Rav Chiz's title. Zok Rave, nein. Zok Rave, no. Sheni al Eitzahas nefesh doesn't mean that it's Eitzahas nefesh right now. Eitzahas nefesh means it's only a reaction from the Eitzahas nefesh, but the Eitzahas nefesh happened earlier. Yeah, that's the.
This
Okay.
happens with people also. That some gas could be expelled after Misa.
Right. We're like a chicken without a head. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. By Yitzchak Amar, Pirchus Amu b'tchila shchita. That Pirchus is even b'tchila shchita. Shchita is okay. So this is the third shchita. So Rav Chisda said that what Pirchus is be'emtza shchita. Rav said I need soif shchita. Rav Nachman Yitzchak is going to say even b'tchila shchita. Why? He was Rav Nachman Yitzchak. I have a more to get raya. Rav Nachman Yitzchak Amar Pirchus Amu b'tchila shchita. Amar Nachman Yitzchak Mina Amina La. What's my raya? That Pirchus b'tchila shchita is enough. Dit na steht in the Mishnah. Amar Rav Shimon Hashoich Balayla. That if you we said we described what was going on over here. They all of a sudden they knew that their milk cow was running a high fever, and they were shreklach worried about who knows, maybe it's going to pass away in the middle of the night. And in the middle they went running into the barn. Everything was dark. It was pitch black in those days. Everything was pitch black. They went running out with a knife, gave a shchita, and then they did the shchita, and then they went to sleep, right? The next morning, we'll see what's the story. We'll see what happened, right? And the next morning they come there, and the question is, was it zinka or not? So there, that what? It's if you find ksalim malayim dam kshera, yeah, because shezinka. Because where did the dam come from? It came from the zinka. It gave a spritz. Now, what does it mean ksalim malayim dam? And the Mishnah says, Ukamidas Rebbe Lezer. And this is going like Rebbe Lezer. Rebbe Lezer holds that zinc is fine. And Shmuel explains on the Mishnah that it doesn't mean that the dam spritzed on the wall of the barn. It means on the wall of the Beis HaShchita itself. We're continuing the metaphor of the place of the neck of where the shchita is. We call it the Beis HaShchita, the base, the house of where shchita is. And Memela, the Kaisle Beis HaShchita, the Kaisle, we're talking about the walls around the Beis HaShchita. Zakti Gemara, and it's very important that Rashi's Meirich over here, that the Gemara's kasha is geboit very much on this last part, because it's really interesting. Why are we bringing it in over here? Why is that part of our question? So we're going to get back to it, but it's clear from the signon of the Gemara that that Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak's raya is only valid with Shmuel's interpretation of the Mishnah. That means that had we interpreted the Mishnah meaning the shchita of the wall of the barn, then we wouldn't have a raya. We'll see in a second. If we'll say that the pshat is that tchila shchita is enough for zinka shapir, so then it's very gishmak. Because if you see that there's blood there, blood happened at some point. It must be that there was a zinka. When was the zinka? I don't know if it was the beginning, at the end. I don't know, but it was there. But if you say that it's not enough that you should have a spritz, I need that the spritz should happen at a certain time, and I need it to have been at the end of the shchita, maybe the spritz happened in the beginning of the shchita, and that's not enough because you're saying that the spritz has to happen at the end of the shchita. Yeah, very simple, right? So the Gemara, and the Gemara is matcha the raya. V'dil mashani zinik to adif. The Gemara says no, maybe shke raya, maybe taken economy. The Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak's maybe the machlokes Rava and Rav Chizda is legabi Pirchus. Over there by Pirchus, so I need it at the end. But Zinuk is such a strong raya. If the animal was so strong that it was able to be mezanik, that'll taka be from the beginning. But when it comes to kishkishi yadav ragla, then we need it at the end, and that's and we'll be marked in a second. But let's go back to this point that Rashi's Meirich that. That the whole raya is only from the fact that we're talking about the Beis HaShchita, but not if we're talking the walls of the barn. Why? If we would be talking about the walls of the barn, so Rashi, then we wouldn't have a raya. Why? Because then Zakrashi, then maybe I could tell from where the spritz was to know at what time of the shechita it happened. That means that if it's I'll be able to tell on the place in the wall where it is. If it's on the top, that means that obviously it happened right in the beginning where the animal was really strong. If it was a little bit lower, it's already later. I'll be able to gauge at which point of the shechita it was. I wouldn't have a raya. The whole reason why we have a raya is because we bought this kosel beis hashchita shaninu, and therefore we have a taina that how do we know it didn't happen in the beginning? Yeah, good. Geschmack, weiter. Wanted to be matched a raya that maybe shani's in iktadif. Sagt tomorrow mi adif v'adnan Reb Lezoim daya im zinka. Again, what was the say of our Mishnah? The Mishnah said the Tanakama said that Achet Tefarches biyad u beregel. Right? The Tanakama was Reb Gamliel. It was Reb Shimon Gamliel who said Achet Tefarches biyad u beregel, and then on that Reb Lezer said Daya im zinka. Nah, I don't need a Tefarches biyad u beregel. It's enough if you zinka. So obviously Reb Lezer is going a shlav down. He's saying I don't need pirchus. It's enough im zinka. And then what happens after that? Right? That's going to be the three shlavim. So Zok Gemara, how could you tell me that's zinka? How could you tell me that zinka is a chumrah? What do you mean? The Mishnah, he said that zinka is more of an indication of life. Okay, it says dayim zinka. Zok Gemara, nishke kasha. Kal midrab Gamliel. V'adif mi dirabanan. Agavorcha. We have in our Mishnah it said Reb Shimon Gamliel. The Gemara over here says it's Reb Gamliel. So the Marsha and the Marshal changed the gears in the Mishnah. Right over here it says Reb Shimon Gamliel. Right. Reb Shimon Gamliel, and the Marshal changed the gears because of our Gemara. Because our Gemara says Kal Midir Reb Gamliel. So obviously over there it said Reb Gamliel. But anyway, okay. So Kal Midir Reb Gamliel. Very geschmack. There's three dogs in our Mishnah. The first, the Tanakama said, "What? Ashet tevarches biyadu beregel," and then Reb Lezer said, "Daya im zinka," and then the Chachamim say, "Pirchus of oy biyad oy beregel." So Zakti Gemara that the machlek is Rava and Rav Chizda, and of when it has to be is only by Pirchus. That's in the Rabbanon. That's the lowest shita, and on that was saying that zinka is more powerful, but zinka is right. Zinka is smashed is sandwiched in the middle. But the Tanakama, Reb Shimon Gamliel or Reb Gamliel that holds you need yad uberegel, that is even more chomer than zinka, right? Kal mi Reb Gamliel v'ad v'Rabban Am Ravina Amali Sama Bar Chilkoi Akshi Ba Avua Devar Avuvram. Very interesting person. Avua Devar Avuvram. He was known as the father of the son of Avuvram. What's the name of the father of the son of Avuvram? Avuvram. So he was known as a Bar Avuvram. And his father was known as Avur the Bar Avuvram. But nobody called him Avuvram because we didn't know who Avuvram was. We knew Bar Avuvram. He was the great Samoira. He was Bar Avuvram was a famous Samoira. And his father, since he was such a chashva Amoira, his father was known to be the father of Bar Avuvram. But the son was always known as Bar Avuvram. So if you just say Avuvram, no one will know who you're talking about. But Avur, the Bar Avuvram, we all knew who that was. Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, Avur, the Bar Avuvram, V'abilachu, the Bar Avuvram. So I'm saying it was the brother of Bar Avuvram. Over here also it's interesting, right? Because what do you mean Achur, the Bar Avuvram? Achur, the Bar Avuvram was also Bar Avuvram. But we're not talking about Bar Avuvram because there was the famous Amoyer known as Bar Avuvram. We're talking about Achor the Bar Avuvram, the brother of the one that was known as a Bar Avuvram. Yeah. Okay. The Bar Avuvram. Umid Rabbanim Yadif. What do you mean? How could you say that it's on Rabbanim? About nine v'chacham ma'achet tevarches obi adei b'regel. The Chachamim say it's achet tevarches obi ad obi b'regel ad shetevarches unless you do pirchos obiad beregel. Rabbanan ahei kaimu Ilay Mad Rabbi Gamliel. Are they going on Rabbi Gamliel? So it's they're not saying we need more. They're saying you should do less, right? The Rabbi Gamliel said you need piyat uberegel, and the Chacham are minimizing. So they should have said kivin the sheperchasa mibayale. I don't need so much. Kivin sheperchasa. As long as I was perchasa, I should have. What's the lashon of at? Elapshita ad Rabbi Lezer. It must be that the Chachamim are arguing on Rabbi Lezer, right? And if we're saying that if we're saying that, so the Chacham are arguing, and they're saying ad shetefarches biyad oiberegel, right? And the ad is lashon of that they want more chumrah. Ad, it's not enough. What you're saying, I need ad. I need you to do more. So how could you argue that Pirchas is less? Pirchas is obviously more. What's my right that Pirchas is more? Because he says ad shetefarches, and he's obviously arguing on Rabbi Lezer, because if we were talking about. If he's arguing on Rishim Gamliel, for sure he's going less than Rishim Gamliel. Rishim Gamliel said I need biyad oiberegel. So obviously it's more chomer than zinka, and memela is a taina this kasha of the beis hashchita. So Rav. So what's taka the teretz? So what's the teretz? Yeah, sagt die Gemara, yeah, Rav, I'm a Pirchasham B'Seif Shchita. Sagt Taisus, so what's taka? What are we going to do with this kasha? Nachma Yitzchak's kasha. Sagt Taisus, and Echanami, Lo Shchicha She'ezina Kela B'Seif. The Metzias happens to be that this grunt, this zinuk, this spritz that comes from the grunt happens at the end. That's the Metzias that happens at the end. And since it happens at the end of the Shchita, that's why we don't have to be choishish that maybe the Kaisle Beis HaShchita were red, we got full or bloody from the Tchila Shchita. So tomorrow Rav Amar Pichasham B'Seif Shchita Amar Rav Mina Lo. So Rav, interestingly enough, brings a raya from Kachim. And he brings a raya from Kachim, a case which seemingly should have not been related to our sugya. However, Rashi says that Rav and Chazal knew that these things are totally habah. The Tanya Shar Oi Kesev. Yeah, Shar Oi Kesev. We dash in the whole pasuk. So what's Oi Kesev Prat Leklayim. Klayim meaning that if you're an animal that was a product of a goat and a sheep together. Oi Eis Prat Lenidba. Prat Lenidba means that it was born from a two goats, but it looks like a sheep. Ki valed pratli yotzei doifin. What's a yotzei doifin? Normally, well, it's a Syrian, right? Now the Gemara is going to talk about it, but there's an interesting Rabbi Yankiv that's kedai to say, and Rabbi Yankiv brings from this Rashi, very interesting. Rashi is pratli yotzei doifin shekarua v'hoitzi uha, right? Shekarua v'hoitzi uha. They ripped it v'hoitzi uha, and they took it out. Zakar Biankiv, the Lashon V'Hoitziua is mashma that the problem of Yotzei Dofen, normally we understand what's the chesron of Yotzei Dofen, what defines the Yotzei Dofen. A Yotzei Dofen is because it came out in the wrong channel, it came out in the wrong place, right? But Rashi seems to say not like that the defining characteristic of a Yotzei Dofen is that it was taken out by human hands and not by the power of the mother. That's what it seems to be. So Rabbi Yankiv, the nafkamina will be. The nafkamina will be legabe chil Shabbos by Mila, that we know that a Yotzei Dofen we're not mechal Shabbos, right? You're not mechal Shabbos for Mila for Yom HaShemini. So Rabbi Yankiv, what happens nowadays? Doctors very often have different kinds of interventions. Not necessarily, obviously, when it's a full cesarean, then we know. But when it's not a full cesarean, there are many different interventions. If it's not the mother putting it out, Rabbi Yankiv wants to say that maybe we should have to be machmir. He shouldn't do a Mila b'Yom HaShemini. I don't know if he on Shabbos. I don't know if he holds like that halacha, but at least he has this svara. So just being moisif one knech, and maybe he says this. I don't know, but it's partial. Where did Rashi get it from? Where did Rashi get it that what defines what defines a Yotze Dofen is the fact that the mother gave birth from its own power, because we're darshaning from the Ki Yivaled, when it gives birth, not when it was taken out. Yeah, very geschmack. Yeah, it's partial. Yeah, very geschmack. Okay, Zog more weiter. Okay, Shivas Yomim Prat L'Mechus Zman. Yeah, Mechus Zman, meaning that it didn't live for 7 days. Tachas Imoy. This is what we're darshaning. Prat L'Yosayim. Hi Yos. What? Prat L'Yosayim. An orphan. Yeah. Hi Yosayim Echidami Le'Midial. The Yelidite Imei V'Hada Mesa. If the pshat is that the mother gave birth, and then afterwards it died, the mother died. Lo'ilam Techi V'Tezel. We needed to live forever. So Rashi explains like this. Rashi explains that since it says Tachas Imoy, there's no Havamnina. Yeah, Rashi's myrich about it. That even since it says Tachas Imoy, we know for sure, right, that there's no halacha that we need the mother to live for 7 days. Because Tachas Imoy, the Gemara Darshans, means Tachas Imoy means that the child is in place of Imoy. Right? Tachas Imoy meaning not under its tutelage, it means in its place, right? Right? Tachas Imoy. So therefore, that's for sure that the mother doesn't have to live forever. That we knew going in, right? So the question is, so what is Yosef? Ella, the Mesa of It must be that you must be talking about in a case where the mother died, and then afterwards it gave birth. Michi Vale Nafka, that's already a Yotze Dofen. That's already a Yotze Dofen, where they had to take it out by itself. They had to take it out they had to extract the baby because the mother was already dead before the end of the later. Elab Shita must be Zapirish Lemisa Zapirish Lechayim. It must be that the case of a Yosim that we're being memayit is where Zapirish Lemisa Zapirish Lechayim, meaning that it ended at the same exact time. Iyam Bishlama being Chiusa B'Seif Leida Hainu Deitzer Kral Lebute Eliyam Le being Chiusa B'Seif Leida Lamali Lamale Michi Vale Nafka. Right. So this is Rava's raya. That Rav and Rashi says and Hi. Elishmami na kol milsa debo barabana chiyusa b'inen she'echiyus b'gmar delay. Every time Rabbana needed chiyusa, I don't know if this is Rabbana deraisa, b'inen she'echiyus b'gmar delay. This is how Rashi learns. This is what the raya from that Gemara. Yeah, but I just want to red ice one thing quickly, that it's Mefurish in Rashi. That Rashi learns that in Rava it's not enough that it should just be at the end. I need a raya that there's a chiyus right after the Gemara. Doesn't mean the end; it means right afterwards. Mamish right at. It seems to be Rashi seems to say that it's a little bit after the later. Okay, so the Gemara weiter. Let's move on. Zok the Gemara. I want to get to Yosef Engel's kasha. Zok the Gemara weiter. Oh my Rava Hilchasa ki hamas nisa. L'maisa la'alacha. What's the halacha? Ki hamas nisa. Bein medaka sheposhta yadav v'leich zira. If it stuck out its hand, v'leich zira psula. Ba'med dvarim emurim biyad. That's all in its hand. In other words, the front hands, the front legs. Avo b'regel, but in its hind legs, bein poshta v'leich kafa fa. Say if it stuck it out, v'leich kafa, and it didn't pull it in, bein kafa v'leich poshta k'sheira. The hind legs, it's a much more of an indication of life, regardless if it went out or in. Ba'med dvarim emurim b'daka. Avo b'gasa bein biyad bein regel bein poshta v'leich kafa v'leich poshta. But by a gasa, any movement would be an indication of life. K'sheira. The oif. Afilu loy rafaf ela gapai. The lashon of rafaf means it didn't. It's less of a lashon of kishkush. Rafraf is a lashon of just. Rashi says it's even less. And the Agah in the Shulchan Aruch says where's the lashon of rafraf come from? Comes the lashon of keherafayin. Yeah, that's lashon of yeah. Anyway, ela gapai v'le kishkish ela znavai. Harezu pirchos. Michael Mashlam Faktimar, what's the chiddush? Kulu Taninu. It's all stated in the Mishnah, because the Mishnah said by a behemoth daka by a yad. So obviously, it's almost behema daka shepashta yada v'loy hechzira psula. So it's mamish before sheini eloi tzas nefesh nefesh yad in rega loy daka in gas eloi. So what's the chiddush of this brisa? It's like the Gemara heh. But the last part was the brisa is being mechadish. Oif. It's richelei like nan. Our Mishnah didn't discuss what's the story about Oif, and since it discussed, so that's why Rav is saying that Hilchos is like this brisa because of Oif. So up to Gemara Vayta. Oh, now here comes the Mishnah of Sheikh Elavid Eloiv Kechavim. If somebody shechts for an goy, shchitase kesheira, azoi how to tanikama. Kosher, why not? You're shechting for a guy, why not? You for Rebbe Lezer poisel, Rebbe Lezer passes. Oh my Rebbe Lezer, and Rebbe Lezer says, Afilu shachta lecha loiv kechavim michatza kavit shelo psula. That means even if the oiv kechavim has only one piece. If he's only getting just one little piece, since he's b'chashav lav kechavim, so therefore the Gemara is going to explain exactly what this machlokes is, but just to realize one thing, that his machshav is for kechavim. But Tosha says, don't think that with Afka saying even though he chapped on michatzer kavit shalom. So it's mashma that we're talking about the Yoseres HaKaved. We're talking about the part which is Lamaila, and that's where we have to be choishish for Machshavas Kechavim. No, it was just chapped on that thing because that was a derech. But obviously a Rebbe Lezer is going to pass on any single part. Rabbi Yosi, Kal v'choyma hadvarim u'ma b'mokim. No, Rabbi Yosi, what are you talking about? Who cares about what the guy thinks? I don't care. It goes by what the Kohen is thinking, not what the Baalim are thinking. And Mela, it doesn't matter, it's irrelevant. I don't care what the Baalim are thinking because it's telling you what the shechting is. And over here, the Yisrael shechting is not shechting levis kachavim, and Mela, you have nothing to worry about. So Mela, we have three shitas. We have a shita of the Tanakama that says it's kshera, doesn't say why. Yeah, it would sound very similar to Rabbi Yosi, but we don't know. And we have the shita of Rebbe Lezer that says it's possible, and Rebbe Lezer clearly holds that we're going basa the machshava of the Bailim. And Rabbi Yosi says no, ain't a machshava elacha oived or shaychid. That is our Mishnah. Now, Zakti Gemara, what's the machlokes? Yeah, Zakti Gemara hanita. So we obviously have to hold. We obviously have to explain. Right? What's the difference between the Tanakama and Rabbi Yosi? Rabbi Yosi said that we don't care what the Baalim are thinking. The Tanakama said it's kshera, but we can't say that the Tanakama is holding exactly like Rabbi Yosi, right? So then that it's behind Rabbi Yosi. So there's obviously a machlokes. So the Gemara is going to say two pshat. Zakti Gemara Hani Tanoi, meaning the Tanakama and Rebbe Lezer, not Rabbi Yosi. They argue Rebbe Yosi about the Shita. Hani Tanoi is Lud Rebbe Lezer Rabbi Yosi. They hold like Rebbe Lezer Rabbi Yosi that hold the Tanya Rebbe Lezer Rabbi Yosi Shamati Shabaylim Mefaglim. I heard I have a Kabbalah that what Shabaylim Mefaglim. Very interesting. Rabbi Yosi is the man that says Ein Machshav El Chaoivit, and his son Rebbe Lezer Rabbi Yosi is the one that Shamati Shabaylim Mefaglim. I heard that that the Bailim could have a machshava by kachim. They could have a machshava's pigel. What? We dash from the pasuk. The pasuk says of the hikriv hamakriv alma Bailim kari makriv. Yeah, and memela since and memela Bailim amafagim. So memela very short. So let's go through this question. So side the Tanakama and side Reb Lezer hold like Reb Lezer Rabbi Yosi that Shemaiti Shabbalim amafagim. That what that pigel that if the Bailim have some machshava and by Avodas Kachavim as well, Avada it would work. And the machlokes is if we have to assume that he was machashiv Avodas Kachavim. The Tanakama holds good, it's very nice, but Lemaisa he didn't think Avodas Kachavim. And Rabbi Lezer holds we have to be kosher Avodas Kachavim. And then Rabbi Yosi comes and says I don't care what he thinks because there ain't a machshava. That's the first shot. Yeah. Miu Tanakama sav Ishaminu dechashiv in Eloi Loi. If we heard him that he thought good, right? Because we don't we don't have to assume that his machshava was lavis kachavim. For Rebbe Lezer Sava, afagav deloishamina. Even if we didn't hear him, the chashuv that he was chashuv. Afagav, very important lashon. Afagav deloishamina, the chashuv. Even if we didn't hear him that he thought, why should you hear him think? Yeah. Stam machshava is a little bit mashma like the famous machlokes, which we're going to get to in a second. If machshava b'kochim is moiti b'peh, avagav deloi shamina dechashav stam machshava zavit kacham david kacham amrinan. Even if we heard him, the chashuv zem chashuv is ovid le'amrinan. We don't care what he thinks because it's irrelevant. He doesn't define the action of the ovid. Ikadami, so another mahalach in the Tanakama. Really, that's where the whole chiluk is going to be in Tanakama. The machlokes is not about a stam. The machlokes is gufa when he was machashiv. We know for sure that he thought of it kacham. And Ava became this machlokes between the Tanakama and Rebbe Lezer. Tanakama so it's true that we have this thing that the Bailam could be mefagel, but that's only by kochim. Hani mili b'fnim. Ava b'chotz because chutz mipnei moving to Lamed Testament Alflei Alfinan. Vaser Rebbe Lezer maybe Alfinan chutz mipnei. Read that and Rebbe Lezer argues and he says yes Alfinan chutz mipnei. Vaser Rebbe Yisrael maybe Alfinan mipnei. Nami zem machashiv zeh ovid le'amrinan. So the second shot is like this: that there's three shittas and it's all shittas about machshava. The Tanakama holds that we only say zem machashiv zeh ovid by kachim but not by shchita. Rebbe Lezer says sai by kachim and sai by shchita, and Rebbe Yisrael argues that sai by kachim, sai by shchita, we don't say it. Yeah, that's the end of the Gemara. Down to the Lumdus? I don't know if it's a Lumdus. I don't know, or maybe it's just a drasha. It could be. Zem Mechashiv Zo'iv is I don't know. Is mashma a little bit, yeah. Is a Lumdus. I don't know. Okay, so Zok Rabbi Yosef Engel, he says this is a kasha that everybody was in this kasha, and this kasha is a kasha that so he just compiled Gvura Shmoinim Aseifa on 80 terutzim on this kasha. It's a Velt kasha. The kasha is like this: how is it possible to say that Bailam Mefaglim, if it's going to be Bailam Mefaglim, so then every time, every Saita, she is the Baal, she's the owner of her mincha, and she has a murdiga etza. She has a murdiga trick that she'll get out of the thing, because we know for sure that if the mincha is psula, excuse me, if the mincha is psula, we know that it's not gonna work. The mayamarim are not gonna work. So she'll be mefagel on the mincha. She'll be mefagel on the mincha. Bailu mefagel and boom, kigangen, and finished. It won't work. And look at this. I'm good. I'm clean. Right? In Loilam, she wasn't clean. It's just the mincha was a piggle. Yeah, that is what. We've mentioned this guy. I think we've mentioned. Now you say it. I think we discussed it in Menachos. We discussed. I forgot about it. So there's 80 terutzim. So, but one second. So we have to just explain that the kasha is only geboid on the old machlokes of machshava kol machshava b'kachim is moitzi b'peh. Right? If you say that the pshat is that machshava is only moitzi b'peh, so then you don't have a kasha, because you'll just watch her like a hawk. You watch her. Does she say anything? If she doesn't say anything, finish. There's nothing to worry about. It's only right. It's only if the pshat is what? It has to be there, yeah. Yeah, it has to be that she thought. That it would be a problem if she thought. But if it's not a problem if she thought, so then I have nothing to worry about. Who cares, right? Yeah, that's cool. So what are the eitzes? So there's a lot of eitzes. I just want to mention. Let's just mention some of them. One of them is like this. One of them is that be'etzem the stamakasha. How do you have a machshava? How do you have a machshava? Ein adam oisadav shein shaloi. Right?
Well, that's a kasha anytime.
I want to say that the pshat is that it depends if you did a ma'isa or you didn't do a ma'isa. If you did a ma'isa, then you could be makasha. Without a ma'isa, you could do a ma'isa. You could asa. Without a ma'isa, you can't do it. So where's the ever negea bailam mefaglim? Bailam mefaglim was only negea by a kachik kalim. Leader Rabbi Yossi that it's mom and bailam. So over there it's possible bailam mefaglim, even though he didn't do a ma'isa, it's shaykh to answer it because it's not davashen shaloi, because it's shaloi. Mashenkein by a mincha, which is kachim. There's no bailas. So memela another ma'isa davashen shaloi doesn't belong to you. So memela there will not be a bailam mefaglim. That would be a lumdis. That would be a pshat in this eitzah. The Lomdish teretz that the Welt says is the Welt says a teretz that has a go. I'm just thinking a different mahalach. That even if you say yeah, we discussed that when we discussed at the beginning of the year that pigel, the shaila is if it's a thought or a plan, right? It's very important that he's planning on doing something or he's just thinking of doing it. Oh, maybe I should do this. Or no, he did it with the intention of doing something, right? If maybe the pshat is when you did something with the intention of doing something, it's dafka if I can do it. Right? If she thinks she's gonna what? She's gonna eat the kohen? The kohen is eating it. She's not eating anything. She's not eating. She's anyways not getting any of this mincha. She's not doing any haktara. Has nothing to do with her. She's not doing anything. So it's only where would be bayom afaglim would be lamashal by Shlamim where she is eating and she could say I'm going to eat it. I'm going to eat it b'yom hashlishi. That's the geya. I could have a machshava. I'm going to do something. I could have a plan. But if it's not in her hands and she can't do anything, so she can't plan anything. So it wouldn't be an machshava b'chlal because she can't do any plans. It's some thought. Oh, an idea. Oh, wow! Wouldn't it be nice if we would do this? Big deal. That's not a machshava. That wouldn't be a machshava by machshava. No, I don't even know if you have to go so long. Just what's the definition of machshava? Machshava is that she thought of an idea or she planned on doing it. Planned. She's intending to do something. By a mincha, it's all out of her hands. She gives it to the kohen. He does everything. She didn't do anything. If she didn't do anything, so what's she going to be? What kind of plans is she going to change? She's going to change the plans. What is she going to do? Yeah.
Well, doesn't the Gemara say that it's not